Good evening, Prototype Nation, aka Prototype Family. This is Yuri, aka Russian Prototype. It is 9 p.m. on Tuesday, August 31st, which means we are live, baby. We are live. You know what time it is. And tonight, we're going to discuss another fascinating topic. My parents hate my partner. What should I do? Now, I don't even have to tell you how bad bad is the word, how bad it is when your parents showcasing their reaction when you bring somebody to your house and when they actually displaying a public lack of affection, or better yet, public hate in the presence of your partner. This is a bad deal. Very, very bad deal. Okay. This is very uncomfortable for just about anybody, I believe. I don't care how strong-willed you are. This is not going to feel good. This is going to make you sweat a little bit, whether you're a guy or a girl. Okay. And so let's dissect this a little bit. Why does this happen? And I'm just going to offer you some of my opinions. Okay. I think first of all, it happens because parents are protectors. From the day you were born, your parents were your number one protectors. This was their job. They protected you from diseases. They protected you from dangers. They protected you from strangers. They protected you from unwanted consequences. And I think they cannot turn this role off. This role is engraved in them. So even though you think maybe at times they going overboard with that, I don't think they can help it. And I don't think people really can understand it unless people have their own children. I remember my grandma always would tell me, I would argue with her because my grandma still be trying to baby me when I was a grown man. Baby me not in a way of, you know, treating me like a child, but in a way that she would worry about me as if I was a child. And I would get in arguments with her. I said, Grandma, I'm a grown man. You don't have to treat me like a child anymore. And she said, Yuri, for me, you always will be a child. I said, okay. Okay, I guess we'll go with that. I guess really I can't do anything to change this situation. So your parents are your protectors. Let's let's try to understand them. Let's try to at least gauge a little bit of insight into their world and why they do what they do and why they act the way they act. They're meant to be your protectors. This is a natural thing for them to do. Okay? The second role that I think that is important to highlight is parents are critics. They are. They're going to criticize when they feel like criticism is relevant. And I think they want to do this. One of the reasons why they want to criticize is because, let's be honest, a lot of times parents want you to have better life than they did. And so they see themselves as critics, these independent critics that always going to provide you with feedback. They're going to give you this information, whether you want it or not. If they don't like somebody, they're going to criticize. They're going to find things to nitpick. Okay, this guy, he's okay, but the way he's wearing his clothes, he doesn't look neat. No, this guy is not the best guy for you. Okay, now that guy, he seemed to have his things together, but look how short he is. Do you really want to date a short guy? I mean, he's literally 3 feet shorter than you. What kind of kids he's gonna give you? They're critics. They might as well be just writing, articles for newspapers or working for some news outlets, because they can criticize. They could be really, really good at it, right? But sometimes it's actually a good thing. Sometimes it's a good thing because they can give you a very, very honest breakdown and evaluation of someone. And sometimes you might be thinking, oh, this is a good point. I didn't even think about that. Thanks, mom. And of course, parents want the very best for their children. This is what they want. They want they want you to have this amazing life. They want you to have the life that they've always dreamed of. And naturally, your partner would have to be a big part of that life. And so they envision sometimes things that, let's be honest, maybe not reasonable. They envision things that are not very realistic. They want more that maybe their kids even deserve, or more that their kids can handle. In parents' mind, it's quite all right. In parents' mind, it makes sense, but it doesn't always work out that exact way in reality, though. This is the difference. And so when I think about parents' role in this entire um, introduction situation, for lack of the better word, I think it comes down to immediate reaction. You know, I think it really sucks when our parents showcase their negative emotions towards our partner, right? It's not the fact that they're going to give their opinion. We know that they're going to give their opinion. It's the fact that how they're going to give their opinion and when they're going to give their opinion. It's the fact whether or not they're going to test your partner in front of you, at least immediately speaking, right? When we're talking about immediate reaction, these are the things that we're trying to avoid. This is literally going to make you feel like these emojis over there. It will make you want to vomit. If your mom will say something or make a face at the partner that you brought, especially at dinner, that's going to be like, mom, my food's going to come back out. You didn't have to say this right now. This is not the best place. This is not the best time. Or it's going to make you cringe like, ugh, ugh. Yeah, this is my cringing place, like face. Ugh. This immediate reaction, this is something that throws people off. We don't want to see that. Never. Even if our partner is not suitable according to our parents. We don't need to be, we don't like when our parents showcase these things. It doesn't help anybody. So just a thought, just a thought. Prep your parents before you introduce your partner to them. You know your parents better than anybody else. You got to sit them down and you got to tell them, hey, mom, hey, dad, here's the deal. Here's who I'm dating. Here's who this person is. Now, what I want you to do, mom and dad, is A, B, C, D. You got to establish these terms. I'm not kidding about this. I am very, very serious about this. It's just like a relationship. It's just like your personal relationship with your actual partner. You want to establish some expectations. You want to manage the expectations the same way you would want to manage expectations with your parents. Because guess what? You can tell them, mom, dad, I don't have to bring my partner to introduce to you. I would like for you to abide to these simple rules when we're going to go out to dinner together. Or, make sure that these are the limits. These are the lines that will not be crossed during our gathering this lovely evening. And this is how it's going to go. Now, even though some of you might think, oh my gosh, this sounds like an ultimatum. No, I would say it's not an ultimatum. This is negotiating terms. Your parents want to meet your partner, and in order for them to meet your partner, you doing your part by bringing your partner to them. They need to do their part to behave appropriately in front of your partner, even if they don't like your partner. There's a time and a place for everything. So, with that being said, what am I proposing? Make them make you promise. Make them make you promise. Once you voice your expectations, ask them, can you meet these expectations? You don't have to go as far as them signing something, although you could. But if it's a verbal agreement and they fail verbal agreement, then you already have a red flag. You can say, Mom, Dad, we talked about this. Next time we're going to do this in writing, or maybe next time, I'm not going to be so open to bring my partner to introduce to you. I think it's reasonable. I think it's reasonable to make them make you a promise. All right. And another thing that I definitely want to address is the impact. And we're going to talk about this more, but of course, short-term versus long-term impact. And what I mean by that is sometimes parents are resistant short-term. They just don't like something about the person that you introduce to them. They think that maybe they're not good enough for their child, and they're going to nitpick, right? And yes, it's uncomfortable. It's not the best. But after a while, they come to terms with it. They realize, okay, you actually love that person, and they need to come along. They need to join that ride, baby. And other times, there could be long-term consequences to where parents continue to be resistant. Parents continue not to accept your partner. And I think it's that these long-term type of issues is what's really troublesome for so many people. It's not the short term. We can deal with the short term. But the long term, to where we continue to receive this rejection from our parents, this is where it gets really, really tricky. Before we go any further, let's see who we have here with us tonight. Let's acknowledge some prototypes in the house. The prototypes fam. We have Heather in the house. Happy to see you. How are you? How is your new job? How is it going? Jamie's in the house. How are you today, Jamie? Happy to see you as well. Very sorry to hear about your loss. Prayers with you. Thank you for being here. Becky is in the house. Hi, Becky. Thanks for hanging out. Super, super excited to see you as always. We have Kaya is in the house. Hello, hello. Hello, beautiful people indeed. And this is New Zealand in the house, which is amazing. Brain in the house. Brina, not Braina, Brina. Brazil is in the house. What's going on? I'm happy to see you. Thank you for your pictures. Brina sent me some pictures of her church earlier. Such an incredible place, or should I say cathedral. J.O. is in the house. Hello. Hello, hello. Thank you for hanging out. Thank you for being here. Happy to see you. The Blah 1990. Hello. How are you today? Remind me where you're watching from. J.O. and the Blah 1990. I'm not sure where you are watching from, so drop me a comment. Where are you watching from? Cheyenne, hello. Thank you for joining. Super happy to see you. And shout out to Cheyenne too. This is her idea. This topic came in through her comment. So appreciate the continuous feedback. So next thing I wanted to do is to also showcase a personal story, because I received an Instagram message today from a person who was sharing her experience with parents and their reaction to her dating. And so I think it's going to be very, very interesting thing for everybody to hear. Looks like Felicia in the house. Uh, hello, Felicia. Always a pleasure. Looks like you are risking your job right now. Everybody, let's hope that Felicia still will have her job after this. Felicia, please don't get fired. I really don't know if this is worth your job, but I really appreciate you being such a hardcore super fan that you are joining even in these dire circumstances. Lilium, hello. Thank you for being here. Happy to see you. The Blat 1990 said South Florida. Where in South Florida? I'm in Florida too. I'm in Orlando. Where are you in Florida? Exactly, in South Florida. So cool to see you all being here. So let's go ahead and jump in. Let me share my screen. And I am going to show you. Hold on. Hold on. Share the screen. Here we go. Here we go. All right. So let's take a look. This is the direct message. I have had a really hard time with the family hating a partner thing, but have been on the receiving end. My family is not non-traditional and open-minded. They don't care about ethnicity, gender, age, etc. They only say something if they think I'm in danger or I'm really unhappy. I usually catch hell for having tattoos. That's generally where they start. Then, when they find out that I read tarot and I have some spiritual abilities, they're pretty freaked out and want me out of the picture. Then it gets worse when they find out I have dated women here and there when I wasn't with a man. Hold on one moment. Okay, here we go. Let's look at this closely. I've been engaged a few times, but it usually ends with the classic I love you, but my family won't accept you. There was a relationship where I did get some acceptance when they saw how well I treated the person I was with, but they turned on me after I had a few miscarriages and kept on him to find someone else he could have children with. It was hard to be hundreds of miles from my own family for most of my adult years. So it literally felt like I had to deal with all the hostility alone in strange places I didn't really belong. But there was really nowhere to go to that feel like home, because I moved around a lot growing up and at didn't really fit at my old haunts anyway. I always hoped deep down I would find someone and finally find what has been missing in my life. At this point, I still feel that sense of restless wandering. Sometimes I wonder if it weren't for all the issues others' relatives had with me, would one would one of those relationships have worked out? So when I've read this, first of all, thank you so much to the person who shared this. When I've read this, I wasn't necessarily thinking of just um, somebody else's parents not, accepting you. I was thinking of more. I was thinking of real life challenges that you went through. Um, because you talked about two things that really stood out to me, experiencing miscarriages. Um, I mean, sorry you had to go through that. I think that's not something that I think most people can understand unless you've been through it. This is very tough for any person to go through something like that. And then the other thing that you brought up, saying that there was really um, nowhere to go to that felt like home, and that is also seems like a very heavy circumstance to be part of. So for the second night, for the second live stream in a row, we talked about the age gap yesterday, and the email that I received was really so deep about a person personal circumstances, and that's how I feel with this one too. Even though the topic was, what if my parents don't accept my partner? If they hate my partner, what should I do? But this opens up a real life challenges. This is really shows the depth of how difficult the human experience can be, in my opinion. This is beyond somebody's not accepting you. This is about personal challenges and being able to persevere through things that really go against you in life, and dealing with the personal loss of having miscarriages, and then dealing with continue to look for your place in life. This goes beyond just somebody not liking you as, you know somebody else's son's girlfriend. So thank you for sharing this. Thank you for sharing this, because it literally makes me think that we really don't understand sometimes, and we don't know what the person on the other side is going through. We can only assume some things. We can sometimes only judge a person by how they look or their appearance. As they say, judge the book by its cover. But we would be only seeing a small piece of the puzzle that meets the eye. These stories, what these emails and messages are teaching me is that there's so many things that we might not know or understand about any given person, that we are better off when we meet people is really trying to learn more about them as opposed to making preconceived notions. And this is actually a good segue into making that connection as to why maybe parents shouldn't do it either, as to why parents should try to listen more so, right? Try to really get to know another person before they start judging another person. Because sometimes they might have a wrong judgment. Sometimes they don't, but sometimes they might. Now, I think the tricky part is that we love our parents. And we naturally want to listen to our parents because they raised us, they protected us, they educated us, they gave us shelter, they gave us love, they gave us support. So who we're going to listen to first? Of course, our parents. And truth be told, parents have a lot of experience. They may see things that we don't see. I get that. I get that 100%. But their opinion is not bulletproof. Their opinion is not always going to be 100% accurate. And this is where it gets complicated. This is where I think we got to figure out how to take their feedback with a little bit of grain of salt and then do our own work in order to vet out, in order to understand and get to know another person. This is the dilemma. Okay? Listen to somebody else's opinion is super easy. Developing your own opinion is hard. Not even developing your opinion. Developing an understanding, sound understanding of somebody is hard. Opinions are easy. Let me see what my community is saying. What do you think, prototypes? What are your thoughts about the story? What are your thoughts about what we discussed? Have you had any situations in which you were not accepted by the parents of somebody you dated? Yes, absolutely. There's a lot to bear. A lot to bear. I lived all over Florida from Miami to Tampa, but I'm currently living in West Palm. Oh, what's up, West Palm? Nice. Jamie said, parents should be the one safe place for their children to go for advice and for help. Indeed. Yes, indeed. My parent loves to ask blunt questions and ruin it if they don't like the guy, especially if he's too skinny. They went up to him first meeting and asked if he had HIV. Look, this is one of those situations where I know that you're still super young, Cheyenne. I know that I don't know the exact dynamic of the relationship you have with your parents. But I think that in some cases, parents can go overboard with that. I don't think there is a need to disrespect. That's my opinion. And no judgment placed on your parents. I'm sure they have their own reasons. Maybe they different culture. Maybe that's how they've been brought up. Who knows? But at the same time, I think that you can take a note of that and you can make your own decisions. Okay, dad. Okay. Okay, mom. If you're gonna roll like this, I'm not gonna bring that guy. Or you can take a stab at your parents' back. I mean, that's a risky business. I don't know again in your culture if it's gonna be acceptable or not, but you can say, Dad, you look kind of skinny today too. Do you have HIV too? Some of you might say, wow, that's too disrespectful. But you know what? They started being disrespectful. So no, I don't think it's the right thing to do to turn it into a pissing context, pissing context. I do not suggest that. But I think that sometimes, putting somebody in their place is a good thing. I don't think that you should be taking punches from people all the time, even if they're your parents in certain instances, right? Because here, in the example that you gave, it's a clear violation, right? If referee was there, he would throw a flag. If I had the whistle, I would call a timeout. Let's see if I can actually find a proper effect for you. It's probably going to take me to commercials again. Of course, it's taking me to commercials again. Annoying. Here we go. That wasn't too bad. Let's see. Do we have the sound for it? I thought I saw it yesterday. We can't do it without the proper sounds. We can't do it without proper sounds. So just have to find it. Have to find the sound. Gotta get more prepared, yo. Gotta get more prepared for it. You can blame me. I mean, I deserve it. I deserve it. There's still some people here you're not leaving, which is a good sign. I think I saw this. I saw it. I could have swear I saw it. I could have swear I saw that. Maybe not. Maybe I don't see it. Now you see me, now you don't. But the point that I was trying to make, you throw a flag. You throw a flag like a ref. You put them on timeout. There are consequences, right? There are consequences um, for the actions. That's my take on it. The Blonde 1990. I really hope my future spouse has a good relationship with their parents because I lack a family. I only have my sister. So I do seek a family. Thank you for sharing that too. Thank you to all of you for sharing the personal stuff. I know this is not always easy, and this is kind of could be a vulnerable thing to do. Um, and yes, I think it's good that you have, it's cool to see that it's important to you. It's cool to see it, especially, you know, that you want your spouse to have a good relationship with their family. I think it is important too. I think it does speak value about other individual. I'm grateful that my relatives told me what they thought privately and were polite to whoever I was dating. Yeah, because that's the thing that we're really what I'm getting at. Of course they're going to give you their feedback. Of course they will. What I'm saying, it just comes down to a time and a place. If you think he sucks, okay, just don't say it in his face. Just tell me in private later on and give me the reasons. What made you think that he sucks? Don't just say I had a sometimes people say I have a bad feeling. I don't know. I don't even know what to do with this one. I can't go to the other guy and say I have a bad feeling. I mean, what is it? What is it? What is it about him? If your parent is telling you I have a bad feeling, this is a tough one. This is a tough one, yo. How much of that you're going to take and how much value you're going to give it versus your own feelings and your own beliefs about that particular person. I'm not suggesting that I have a solution over here. I think this is going to be your call. This is going to be an individual call to figure that out because, quite frankly, how can you know? You don't know how your parents feel. You don't know what they may know. You don't know if they being even completely honest with you. They could be. Hopefully, they're honest. But man, it's a decision time. Jamie said, my ex never wanted me to meet his mom, but because she was horrible, not because of me. Some parents are awful. Dang. I wonder, did you get to ask him did you get him ask him more questions? Like what exactly, why he didn't want to? Because that's deep. If the guy doesn't want to introduce you, if the guy's in a committed relationship with you that goes somewhere, right? And he wants to introduce you to his mom, No, let me backtrack. If the guy's in a committed relationship with you and he sees a potential, then I think one of the first thing that he will be open to do, not the first thing, but like one of the things that he will be looking forward to, is seeking approval from his mother. Now, it makes me just wonder, you know, if he wasn't lying, if he was telling you the truth, how bad that situation would have been. What was so horrible about his mom? How horrible can she be? Because you can always meet in a neutral place. You don't have to meet at her house where she just falls in her ways, right? You can meet at a restaurant somewhere. Neutral place. Um, yeah, not sure, Jamie. It's hard to make conclusions based on that, but who knows? My mom made me break up with the guy because he was Muslim, and she put me through hell because of it when I was young, but I guess they only want the best for us. Whew, man. This is by far probably one of the hardest thing to even comment on, you know, is the racial dating, interracial dating, and how your parents view it. This is super tough. This is super tough because if your mom or your dad feels so strongly about an individual of different race than you, that they making this more or less ultimatum for you, right? She's putting you through hell. Man, it's like you really have, for one thing, if you're young, it's really tough. If you're young to where you depend on your parents for shelter and they're still providing for you, that's almost impossible, right? Because they have all the leverage. You still depend on them for survival, more or less. When you're older and you support yourself and you independent person, um, it's still very difficult, I think, because your family is your family. Your family is your blood. You can turn your back on your family. You have the choice, but just realize that if your relationship with this other person doesn't work out, you will lose that person, and your relationship with your family may never be the same if you will still have relationship with your family, right? So when it comes down to it, we're talking about the other side of it now. We look at the story, to some extent heartbreaking story, where a woman was on the receiving end of BS, right? But if we flip it around, just using this example, let's say that you stayed with him, with this guy, and let's say that you just went against your family in this particular relationship. If your relationship works out and you strike gold and you get married and you live the happiest life that you could have, the hope is your family will come around after a while. And if they don't, you choosing your new family against your old family, right? But again, if the relationship doesn't work out, then you may lose both things. You may lose your significant other, because it's not about even if the things don't work out, you will lose your significant other, and you may lose your family. And that is the scary scenario. Now we can talk idealistically that people shouldn't do that. People, family members should not be making those kind of ultimatums, and people that in putting their kids through hell, but they do. They do. And so these are the difficult choices, though. These are super difficult choices to make. Jamie said, I would never be rude to anyone. My children brought home 21, 21 my children brought home, and I only tell them my opinion if they ask me for it. I can't imagine trying to dictate who they date. And I think that that is one way to of thinking that I resonate with, because you're not going to save your children from making a mistake. Now, hopefully you can raise them well enough so they don't make a life defining mistake, right? But dictating them how to live their life, it just doesn't seem to be the best solution after all, because it's going to create resentment. That's another thing that we didn't talk about today. When your parents dictate who you date, who you should date, who you shouldn't date, or let's just say they dictate who you should not date, and they go against what you want to do, and then let's say a few years later you're going to see your ex happily married, and you're going to think that that could have been me, that can create some serious resentment. Serious, I mean like serious resentment against your parents or towards your parents. Because people at that point feel like, hey, I gave in to this BS that my parents were putting on me, but now I did not just lose the guy, right? Or lose the girl. I lost some a potential soulmate, and now that person is happily married to another person. Parent throws a fit if it is a Muslim guy, or if he's an immigrant from a Spanish-speaking country. I ask, so it would make you feel better if the guy was immigrant from Sweden? They said yes. Look, I mean, I guess I would ask you, like, do you currently, you don't have to answer publicly if you don't want, but I'm just going to think out loud. I would, my train of thought would be, okay, are you living with your parents? Okay, do you depend on your parents? If you depend on them financially, okay, they have a pull, they have a leverage, you know, um, because you depend on them. If you don't depend on them in any way, shape, or form, you can take their opinion into consideration, but you don't have to employ their way of thinking. You don't have to comply. You don't have to comply with their demands or their um, not necessarily demands, but offers, or their reality. So that's it. It's crazy how they think the world is the same and live in the ideologies that only were valid in the past. The world isn't the same. And unfortunately, I think it's a shortcoming of older generation. Not a shortcoming. I think it's just they're from a different era. They think a certain way. They still think with morals and ideologies of the past, where in fact we already move on from that. There are plenty of multicultural relationships that could be successful and that people make work, right? And I think partially, I think parents don't see, if they have these ideologies and opinions, they could be missing a big picture. Oh my god. Sometimes I look at see myself in the camera, and it's just weird. It's just weird. Brain, here in Brazil, it's okay to live with parents after marriage. If respect doesn't exist, life can become hell. Yes. Respect is huge. So how do they do that, Brian? How do they live with parents like a newlywed? How do they do that? Is it even feasible? Actually, funny enough that you should mention it, because same thing happens in Russia. Same thing happened in Russia. Like in Russia, is for many people it's impossible to buy a separate apartment or to own a house. So apartments just ends up being passed, from parents to children, from children to their children, and so on. And when newlyweds get married, they move in and they live with parents, and then they have children. And I mean, you know, it's tight quarters, but they make it work. So yeah, that's how it goes in a lot of countries. Jamie said, he's my ex-husband. None of the children talk to her now. She views her kids as bank accounts. Whew. That's not good. That is not good. I can't list all the terrible things she did to all of her children. She was a very bad parent. Hmm. That's so unfortunate. Brian said, wish I could find someone that gets along with my mom, as my grandparents were to my parents. Mom always says it's a pity I haven't met my grandma, her mom in law, because she was an amazing lady. Look, I think it takes special people to get along with parents. And I mean, not coming for dinner. Coming for dinner is the easiest thing in the world. Anybody can be the nicest guy or the nicest gal for 2 hours. That is easy. Oh, it's so easy. What's hard is this situation. Get along with somebody's mom when you're living with her every single day. When you're seeing her every single day. That's hard. That is different. And, newlyweds typically want their space. They're going to be doing what newlyweds do. They need their privacy. Also, there's going to be little things coming up, little arguments that will come up, about just everyday house related things. Mom will like certain things certain way. Your husband will like, or your boyfriend, or hopefully is a husband, but your significant other, your partner, will like things other way. There's going to be you know a little incongruities like that happen, that can grow into arguments. And these arguments over time can really grow into irritation. And those little things, like, they build up. It's a compounding effect. Day after day, you get pissed more and more. It's like you spend 1 month, like, okay, well, mom, I can manage. You spend 2 months, you're like, oh, she's really like, she really doesn't like that, and it started bothering me. 3 months, man, this woman gets on my nerves. I'm so tired of her. I just want her to be quiet. I just want to go somewhere. You know, it it's a compounding effect. The only guy my parents liked was a guy from middle school. Sometimes they will say, "What about that one guy?" That was 13 years ago. Yeah, look, I think you have another comment before I say something. Yuri, yes, I live 100% on my parent finances at home while in school. So if I date someone they don't like, they will make it a living hell. I don't even expect a wedding in the future, just elopement. I don't know what elopement is, but it sounds funny. Um, Cheyenne, um, you don't have to introduce him to your parents. You can date a guy, and you don't have to bring him home. You don't have to introduce him to your parents. And, just make sure that, obviously, if you end up in a committed relationship with the guy and then later decide to introduce the parents, the way to do it is when you get done with school or once you get engaged, to where you don't have to depend on your parents anymore. So you don't have to feel that you have to take this crap, because you're not a child either. You're not 18, 19. I believe you're 24, 25, if I remember correctly. I believe you told me before. So 24, 25, you're an adult. I understand that you depend on your parents right now, but you don't have to depend on them romantically speaking. You can vet out men that you like. You can choose one that you want to date. Again, I'm not telling you how to do it. If you want to, date few, you can. But I think ultimately, probably get. I'm assuming you're going to want to pick one, and then when you pick one, everything goes well, and then once you're sure that he's the one, either when couple of things, like if you're in a committed relationship where like things are definitely solid and going well, and you don't depend on your parents, at that point you can certainly introduce to show him a ring. Like if a dude proposes to you and you love the dude and you're sure that he's the one and you have the ring on, sorry mom, sorry dad, I'm a grown girl, I made my own decision, I don't need you to pre-screen everybody for me. So just couple of thoughts, you know couple of thoughts. I have been on my own for quite some time. My parents have been gone for years. It's just my siblings and I left. Yeah. um you really have to be the decision maker when it comes to you know people in your life, meaning that you're probably not going to get the same advice from your siblings as you would have gotten from your parents. So you know you have to think in terms of what you really want. And maybe part of you will say, I don't know, you can tell me, Becky, if I'm right or wrong, but maybe part of you will think, well, what would my mom say, or what would my dad say, about this person? Would they like him? And my other parent still thinks I'm a virgin until marriage. This parent came to visit and cried for an hour if they suspected I wasn't, and expects a super religious Christian man. Um, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess without asking personal questions, you know, they they might not realize what's really happening, right? They might be living in the dream world. Um, and I mean, you got to be safe. You got to protect yourself. You got to be assured of yourself. I think obviously, like we in this community, we're having these conversations. You coming in and engaging these conversations. Um, it's not only about listening to these talks and interacting with community. It's about doing your own research. It's about learning what men want, learning about men's psychology, right? Really paying attention how men act, their behavior, not what they say, but what they do, how they showing you attention. You know, are they communicating with you consistently? Are they going a little bit of extra mile for you? Are they consistent? You know, you learn more, right, about the behavior aspect of it, and you learn more about um, what men want and who men are. And you go on a few dates, there's going to be some mistakes. There's going to be some people that probably not going to be good matches, but you could figure these things out in the early stages. You don't have to go through a lot of time dating or crossing any intimate lines. So like this is going to be, again, like you're going to be making those decisions. Nobody going to tell you what to do. You're going to have to figure it out on your own. I think that's beautiful part of becoming an adult. As adults, we're going to make the mistakes, and as long as it's not like life defining mistakes, like don't get pregnant. There's a big one. Don't get disease. That's a big one. Don't don't end up with the guy who is complete nutcase, who can ruin your life. I mean, look, if you can manage that, there's sometimes it's not always knowing the perfect scenario. Sometimes it's knowing the worst case scenarios, right? If you identify the worst case scenarios and things that you definitely don't want, is a good place to start. Because sometimes people don't even think in those terms. They just, oh, I'm just gonna go. I'm gonna find somebody. Uh, do you know what you don't want? Write it down. What are the things that you don't want? I have an idea what I don't want. I should say I know. I have a list. I'm not going to get into it though, to bore you to death. I have heard that Russia is the same. Yes, in that respect, yes, people live with their parents. Here it is same thing, but it is cultural most. We like to be together near family. My parents lived with my grandparents for some time. My sister and her husband ask for us to live with them. It is cultural in Russia too, but I think it's cultural because of the need, more so because of the culture. I think it is cultural because it's been like this for so many years. And I think certainly in the 20th century and 21st century, you see continuous trend that people just don't have means. It's not like a family with two children just dying to live with their parents. There's just no other place to go. There's no means to buy it. No way to afford it. If you're just joining us, be sure to smash the like button. Be sure to leave me a comment. We're talking about a very interesting topic. My parents hate my partner. What should I do? I just shared a story from one of the members of the community, very heartfelt message about her personal experiences. And now we're just interacting with the one and only prototype family, the prototypes. Hashtag prototype fam. Let's go. If you're enjoying this conversation, give me a hashtag prototype fam. Prototypes. Prototypes fam. Plural. Prototypes fam. Put it in the comments. Hashtag prototypes fam. Let's go. Cheyenne, when I lived in Fredericksburg, my relationship with my parent was so much better since they can't control me when I'm on my own, and the meetings feel less tension. Someday again, hopefully. I mean, it's temporary, Cheyenne. I mean, you are, living with your parents for now. You're getting your education. You're gonna, be on your both feet, and this is also, take this time to work on yourself. Take this time to learn. That's what I really keep saying. Like I think it's easy to get frustrated, about things that we don't have, but think about things that you do have. Maybe there's some amazing opportunities to meet someone through your school right now, right? Maybe there's some really amazing opportunities to really learn more about yourself, do some introspection so you can understand what you really want and how you really operate as a person, as a woman. And then learn more about man. Learn more about man. I mean, you still can go on the dates, just don't bring him home. Don't bring him in danger zone. Mom and dad is a danger zone right now. Just do your own, analysis of them, evaluation of them on your own. I think you can still do that. You can still go out, you can still have fun. But I say have fun, meaning just go on the dates and just get to know someone. Nothing crazy. Just enjoying yourself. Well, at home, we always had respect. My sister's ex husband loved my parents. We lived together for some years till they decided to live in another place. I have never seen them arguing. Respect is very important. It's not easy to come by nowadays. In fact, my mom always thought my ex brother in law was wiser than my sis. When my father passed away, he came from Rio to the funeral and provided everything. He was suffering as much as us. Thank you for sharing that. Jo said, what are your thoughts on being a caretaker of your parents, single mom, and finding a partner that is okay with it? Any advice? I think that if you feel in your heart that it's a right thing for you to do, because you want to repay the debt, or just because you love your mom and you want to take care of her, and that's the right thing to do, I think you should go for it. And if your partner is not on the same page with you, you can be transparent with the partner. I think if your partner means a lot to you, you can also be very transparent with him and say like, hey, I'm willing to compromise. I'm willing to dedicate a little bit of my time towards you, but understand that my time will be more limited right now that I'm spending so much time with my mom. So I think in a way it's about finding compromises, right? This life isn't perfect. Things going to come up in life that's going to push us to the limit, um, and sometimes it's going to weed out some other individuals who are just not on the same page with us, or who don't understand what we're going through. And I guess the question for you would be, I mean, would you be willing to leave your mother, because of a relationship, and just allow her to be taken care by someone else, or be in the nursing home, or um, anything else, right? Also, like, what does your mom think of that? How does your mom want to live her life? Does she want to be, I mean, is she okay being in some community with other elderly people, or she's against it, right? So there are a lot of questions. If you literally have the only option of being a caretaker, I think that, if that's the priority, then that's the priority. That's the bottom line. Strong Ballerina, what's up? Thanks for joining. Believe the behavior and you will never be fooled by their words. Kai said, my dad passed away in April. I'm sorry for your loss. He only ever wanted me to be happy. My mom and I are close. She would support my decisions regardless. I have listened to this conversation with a feeling of gratitude. Thank you for that. Gratitude is the best thing in the world, yo. It's the most powerful weapon that anyone has. It's not even a weapon, it's a tool. My mother, I knew I would mess it up one day. It's your mother. My mom loves who I love. She does not judge. Here we go. Here we go. Kai, my heart goes out to everyone who has struggled with this issue. Much love. Indeed. Indeed. Actually, yes, I often wonder what my father would say. He always had a great advice, told it how it is. He would tell me if he thought they were going to mean, if they were going, um, he would tell me if he thought they were going to be to mean a loser just using me for sex, or a good guy. So yeah, I mean, like, I think in some ways this comment from you, it tells me that if you're wondering about this, again, it's just my guess. I'm not a psychiatrist. Always telling you, take everything I say with a grain of salt. I'm just thinking out loud, right? But based on Becky, based on this, if you're thinking about that, if you wonder about that, then in a way, your dad is with you. Your dad is still part of you. You know, there is great wisdom that he passed along to you that's still there, that still speaks to you. So you can draw from that. You can draw from that knowledge. You can draw from that wisdom. That's not to be ignored. That's a blessing. Hi, Lanichka. Thank you for being here. Appreciate you being here. Prototypes fam. Here we go. Here we go. This is the hashtags, yo. This is the hashtags. Let's go. Prototypes fam. Your mother. Jamie, prototypes fam. That's what I'm talking about. J.O. prototypes fam. We need some merch. We need some merch. Becky, prototypes fam. Kaya, prototypes fam. That's so surreal. I love this so much. I love this. Prototypes fam. And then strong ballerina with the Russian language. Always throwing a curveball, strong ballerina. Always. Prototype семья. That means prototype family in Russian. But you would write, yeah, I guess you could say that. You could say семья прототип. Family prototype sounds better. But because in English it's just backwards. My friends, any other thoughts? I love this conversation. Any other thoughts before we depart for tonight? Let me know. Thank you for your hashtags. I love seeing that. Prototypes fam is strong. We are going strong. It's so great to see every single one of you. Cheyenne said, I want to see a guy. I will let my mom know for safety reasons if she don't like him. Okay, if you're going to go see him, don't expect a place to stay when you get back. I'll just walk back to my room. Well, I mean, look, I mean, do you need to get permission when you leave a house? I mean, like, are you under house arrest? I'm not trying to be funny, but like, if you're gonna go somewhere to during the day, can you have lunch with someone? Right? Is that acceptable? So I think like there are ways to do it, right? It doesn't have to be nighttime. And you can tell the dude, you can say like, look, this is kind of like, you don't have to go in depth, but you can say, hey, this is my situation. I'm living with my parents right now, and it's just certain rules that I have to abide by, you know? I mean, I don't pay the bill. So look, I can, what that means is, you know, maybe I can have brunch with you, and maybe I can have lunch with you one of those days, you know, but and maybe we can talk on the phone and we can FaceTime, you know, as kind of like do a virtual dates, but I just can't be out and about late at night with you and, you know, doing all this, that, and the other, because my parents, you know, they're not going to approve me. They're going to be mad. I might not have place to live. This is obviously very this is a full version, so you can abbreviate it the way you see fit, but I guess I'm just trying to figure out, find some solutions here, because it's all about solutions. There is solution nearly to every situation, right? You know what's really cool, when Felicia and I went to Kennedy Space Center, there were a couple of exhibits that we went to visit it. One of them was the Saturn Apollo, the craft that was flown. I believe that it was flown to the moon actually the first time, and they were talking about how scientists, there were so many unsuccessful attempts in the 60s that there are like astronauts that died because of all the unsuccessful launches. Rockets would just explode one after another. And then, you know, like there was this very sad time. A lot of people were mourning, you know, they would mourn all the losses that they incur, primarily the human losses And then, scientists and everybody regrouped, and they went back to work, and they were just testing out every single situation, right? So they were testing everything. Everything was being tested. And they were trying to find solution for every possible problem in that rocket, in order to make sure that the next, the next group of astronauts that would be going to the moon, and they would be flying that rocket, that they were not going to lose their lives. So why I'm telling you this is because I think there are solutions to everything. If we as human race can find solutions to build these incredible machines, and we have resolve to push forward after failure after failure after failure after failure after failure, if Thomas Edison can fail 1,000 times trying to develop a light bulb, and then say, I just found a way not to make it a light bulb 1,000 times. And imagine if the guy would have quit, right? So what is your mindset? I'm saying all this is because I wanna just pose a question to you. What is your mindset? Is your mindset of just quitting, or is your mindset of finding a solution? Because there's got to be a solution to nearly every situation, possibly to every situation. So Cheyenne, maybe space talk and first light bulb doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but the bottom line is there's solutions to pretty much everything. So I want to encourage every single one of you to just be focused on solutions. When you see a problem, instead of just saying, oh my God, another problem, oh my God. You see that what his initial reaction does when you do that? When you say, oh my God, another problem, you're already wasting time. You're already in the time wasting mode to begin with. You're already losing. You're already choosing to lose. It's a default response. And I'm not talking about you, the prototypes. I'm saying generally, people. So when you approach these problems, instead of saying, oh my God, this now, no, the response should be, okay, what is the solution? Changes everything. You don't even give a second of your time to the self-defeating thoughts. You don't give a second of your time to self-pity. You don't give a second of your time to these negative thoughts, the thoughts of weakness, the thoughts of being inadequate, the thoughts of darkness. You just don't do it. Point is, how do you find solution knowing that your mom going to tell you, okay, if you're going to go see him, don't expect the place to stay when you get back? Because there's a solution to it. Are you going to talk to your mom? You're going to bake her something and say, Mom, I'm going to need a couple extra dates? Are you going to start doing lunches on your own to where you're going to be out and about from the house anyway? Are you going to go on double, triple dates with other people, so you can tell your parents, hey, I'm actually going to hang out with a group of friends during this time? So your mom will be like, Gucci, cool. And you'd be like, peace. What is the solution, Cheyenne? What is the solution? You know what I would like? I would like to hear from you when you find it. Let this conversation not be just words. DM me when you find a solution. I would love to know what your solution is going to be, what you come up with, how you're going to handle that. That's right, Cheyenne. Someday you can do what you want, like Yuri said. Stay strong. Yeah, I think you can do what you want sooner rather than later. You just got to be a little bit, you know, a little bit more creative with your approach. Think outside of the box a little bit. I want pumpkin flavored kefir, craving pumpkin. You can, there's going to be a lot of pumpkin stuff coming up pretty soon. I actually saw somebody's door in neighborhood not too far from here. Somebody decorated their door already for Halloween. I was like, dang, that's not even, we're just getting into September. Isn't it a little bit too early for that? Nas, tell your parents off and separate if you don't want them ruling your life. Well, yeah, I mean, I think it's easy to say that, but I think it's not always easy to do it, right? If you live with them and depend on them. So, sure, if you can, you have means to, you can. But if not, you know, how do you manage it in the meantime? How do you find creative solutions? And how do you plan forward to where you don't have to be dependent on them? Must study again. It's always a pleasure to be with you all. Good night, prototypes. Brian, thank you so much for joining. It was a pleasure to have you. Awesome to have you here as always. No matter how old I get, I let at least one person know where I'm going and who with if I'm meeting with dating someone new. That's one way to look out for yourself, whether you have parents or not. That's smart. That is very, very smart, because you can never be too safe. You know what's really funny about this? Oh my God, I'm going to tell you a quick story because that's hilarious. That's relevant. But that person that I actually went on a date with, she took it to a whole another level. Whole another level, okay? So she actually let me just tell you a story. We went, that was back in Gainesville. Um so that would have been like, I think that would have been like 2015 when I first got there. Um and it was one of those apps that I met her on. And then we went out to eat, and she seemed nice, she seemed cool, like super laid back. And we're just sitting having lunch, and then she's like looks at her phone, and she received a text message or whatnot, and she started giggling, and she like turns around and looks back or whatever. And I'm like, what is going on? What are you doing? And she was like, oh yeah, my friend is texting me. um yeah, she's just checking on you, checking on me. I said, okay, that's cool. What about your friend? Why she's checking on you? Well, she just want to make sure that I'm okay, because I told her that I'm going to be going on a date, and she just wanted to be with me to make sure I'm okay. And I'm like, okay, well, why you keep turning around? Uh, well, because my friend is here with me. I said, what? She said, yeah, she's right there. So she pointed out, and I'm like, hey, I waved at the friend. This was so funny. This was so funny. Uh, so then, the girlfriend of her was just sitting like three tables down, and I couldn't believe it. I thought it was hilarious. I was dying laughing. So I waved at the friend. Friend even came in, like introduced herself, and she just went back to her table to whatever she was doing there. I think she might have even been with her kid, the girlfriend. And then and then I'm like, okay, so that is I told her, so you brought an FBI agent. She was like, what do you mean? I was like, well, this girl is just like, she acts like an FBI agent. She's like trying to hide, she's trying to like be discreet and stuff and look to make sure everything is good. I'm like, yeah, ridiculous. So I just make fun of it the whole night. I was like, this is the first time that anybody brought like a legit, FBI agent with them on the date, on the first date. And so anytime that we would talk after, I was like, hey, how's the FBI agent doing? And then later she would tell me like, hey, yeah, I'm going on vacation on this cruise. And I'm like, with the FBI agent? She was like, yep, with the FBI agent. Apparently, they were really good friends and whatnot. So listen, you just never know. You may be on the, sitting on the date with an FBI agent. That's how it goes. That's how it goes. Oh, yeah, that was so much fun. I was laughing hard. I was laughing too hard. Never too early for pumpkin. You know what's really never too early for is pecan pie. I take pecan pie over pumpkin pie any day of the week. It's not even close. You're not going to prove it to me. I have not ever had a pumpkin pie that comes close to the pecan pie. I rest my case. I love the space talk, Yuri. You know this. I love the motivation words. You give no thoughts of self-pity, weakness. It's also applying to my school. I need a 90% on DDC exam to pass. Yeah, laser focus right now, Cheyenne. Laser focus. I mean, like 90% to pass is no joke. You have to be on top of your game. If this is really important to you, you'll do it. I believe it. You'll do it. If it's important enough, you'll find a way to focus. You find the energy. You find a way to get it done. But it's not going to be easy. It's not meant to be easy, though. If it was easy, everybody would be doing it. Oh, pumpkin roll. Oh, my God. Thank you, Lanchka. I tell him pretty much every night. I'm becoming like a storyteller. And what's really cool? I forgot to play my sound, but there's a certain sound that I play before I tell the stories. And that sound is, I want to show it to you. This is magical. I did it in reverse. I played it after the story this time. Can't stop, won't stop. Can't stop, won't stop. Yeah, that friend was hilarious. It's too funny. Too funny. But that's a real story. I didn't make it up. Did I ever date it again? No, it did not work out. She also had she was like intertwined with her ex. Her life was like different too because she had kids and it just never worked out. But we could never get together again. First time you were aware of it? Yes, first time I were aware of FBI agent. That's the first time. I've never went that far. LOL. I just instruct them to worry if they don't hear back from me by a certain time. Maple glazed pecan with vanilla, homemade. Do you know how to make it? It sounds amazing. All right, the prototypes. Tomorrow. This was awesome, by the way. Okay. This was really, really, really good time. I appreciate every single one of you. I want to also give a quick shout out again to Felicia for supporting the channel. I want to give a quick shameless plug that in order to support a channel, there are a couple of ways you can do it now. So you see the sign below the comment box. So you can do super chat or super sticker, or you can go directly to paypal.me/Russian prototype. Every single cent received would be utilized for this channel to improve the content, to improve equipment, to create more value for you. Tomorrow, we are going to talk about the website. I realized that I've never really went over the website with you all, and I only mentioned it to you, but I'm going to show it to you tomorrow. I'm going to look at a couple of things that I wrote so far, and I'm going to kind of talk about that. And I would love to hear your thoughts on it. I would love to encourage you to, be part of the newsletter if you haven't signed up for it, because my plan is to continue on with the website. I kind of abandoned it for a little bit, but I want to really give you a tour of it tomorrow, and kind of share some personal things with that. So tomorrow's show will be dedicated to what is my love manual and why should you care. I'm going to show it to you live and in color tomorrow. Okay. And this is going to be at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, USA. All right. Yes. Nice website. I had no idea. Yes, I have one. It's called mylovemanual.com. So tomorrow I'm going to take you through the website and I'm going to show you what it's all about. My friends, I think that we did well. I think we did very well. This was a great conversation yet again. Closing remarks about this topic. The closing remarks are, you can't control your parents. You can't control their reactions. As we talked about in the beginning, you can prep them. You can do your part to, you know, alleviate bad things potentially from happening, but you can't necessarily prevent it. If your parents would want to be mean, they still could be mean. It's not in your control. So I guess first thing is just knowing what's in your control, what's not in your control. Really having these conversations in advance with your parents, preparing them, as I mentioned. I think that's important. I think really introducing someone who means a lot to you. So another thing to consider. I know everybody approaches it differently, but personally, me, it would take a lot for me to introduce someone to my mom, to introduce them to other members of the family, because that person would really need to be special. So that's how I view it. And then I think the rest of it is just let it be, I suppose. I think at that point you've done everything you could do. My friends, I'm looking forward to our talk tomorrow. I'm looking forward to showing you the website, showing you some of the blogs that I've wrote so far, getting your thoughts on it. Again, get some of your suggestions. Always looking forward to those. And I really, really appreciate every single one of you. Let's go ahead and acknowledge people who were here tonight. Cheyenne, thank you so much for hanging out. Thank you so much for sharing your personal things. Appreciate you. Becky, thank you very much for being here. Thank you for hanging out and also contributing to such a great degree to this conversation. Strong Ballerina, thank you for your Russian. Thank you for your thoughts. Thank you for being here. Jamie, thank you for being here. Super, super happy to see you. Lanichka, super cool to see you. Thank you for stopping by. Great to see you as well. Kaya, we're here. Thank you for being here. Much, much love to you and everyone in Indonesia. Brian left, but appreciate you hanging out. Always great to see you. Brazil was in the house. Naz, thank you for hanging out. Thank you for your thoughts. Heather, as always, a veteran. Thank you for being here. Thank you for joining the Instagram live again today. I appreciate you a ton. My friends, I'll be seeing you tomorrow. I'll be seeing you tomorrow at the same time. I'm super excited to show you the website. Have a wonderful hump day. Let me tell you, these English terms, sometimes it's getting harder to recall them. What's going on, guys? What's going on? I'm not that old. What's happening? I gotta dig into depths of my brain to remember hump day. Well, anyway, tomorrow, have a wonderful day. Make it count. As I always tell you, be healthy, be joyful, be happy, be well, be active. Most importantly, be grateful. Gratitude is the number one secret tool. Have a wonderful day. We out.